This dengue outbreak has appeared in the Pacific after a few years. Dengue outbreaks usually are cyclical in nature, so they come and go every 3 to 4 years. And of course, throughout the pandemic, we saw a drop across many parts of the world for generally because of the movement being low, but also there was lesser reporting. But now we're seeing an increase globally. And in the Pacific this year, we've particularly seen. And when I looked at the data this morning, it appears like about 8 to 9 Pacific Island countries and territories have active dengue outbreaks. Dengue outbreaks or dengue fevers caused by 4 types of serotypes, as we call, or types of virus. And so in the Pacific at the moment, it's dengue virus type 1 and serotype 2 that are mostly circulating. Tonga, which has had the outbreak since February, I believe, and has had about more than 850 cases and multiple deaths as well. So it's quite significant, and we're starting to see the outbreak in other countries as well as deaths in young children across the Pacific as well. So it is quite significant. The scale is big and it's prolonged as well, because I believe the Pacific has also had an enormous amount of rain, which is also contributing towards this prolonged and large outbreak across the Pacific.
Yeah, that sort of goes to my next question, I suppose. Why is it that Pacific nations are so at risk?
Yeah, there's a couple of different reasons. I guess the first is that Pacific has dengue spread through as a mosquito-borne disease. So it's spread through 2 vectors, Aedes aegypti and albopictus, which are both present in the Pacific. So they both contribute to transmission of the dengue virus. But also we are seeing a lot of rain, and again, you need mosquito breeding for the virus to spread. So it's, again, mosquito-borne disease. So you have a lot of breeding ground in the Pacific, and that increases after such prolonged periods of rain. And I guess there's also a contribution of climate change as we see warming temperatures that will, again, increase and facilitate that environment for more mosquitoes to breed as well. So those are a couple of key reasons. And of course, we know from COVID experiences, from recent measles experiences, Pacific health systems are also fragile. They're often they're small countries, fragile health systems, so the pressure can be felt even more. But there's a couple of different reasons which might be contributing to these large prolonged outbreaks.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about this this concern around climate change and dengue fever. Are you already seeing the effects of climate change contributing to the disease spreading, or is this sort of something that you're conscious might occur in the future?
Look, I think there are data emerging globally that climate change and increasing temperatures are having an impact on the increase in mosquito populations, and hence dengue virus increase as well, and transmission as well. I think in the Pacific, of course, we know that they are susceptible to climate change. So the exact quantifiable data may not be available just yet, but it's something definitely, I guess, we're observing in real time, and climate change experts are also measuring that impact of that as well. But it's not something that we can ignore. I think it's real. It's here. The combination of rising temperature, increasing rainfall, to the change in patterns, all of that is contributing. And not just in the Pacific, globally, we're seeing this increase.
At the moment, there's no vaccine or medication specific for dengue fever in the Pacific, but I understand that one does exist. Can you just explain to me why that's not available to help with this outbreak?
Yeah, so there is one dengue vaccine recommended by the World Health Organization called the Dengue vaccine. And it's particularly recommended for settings for children aged 6 to 16 years of age, and in settings where there is a very high transmission of dengue. And typically the Pacific hasn't sort of made it to that criteria. Perhaps that may change in the future, but it's more about that high transmission, endemic transmission that you might see, which WHO recommends at about greater than 60% in children up to 9 years of age. So when we measure antibodies to the infection in the past, you want to know that there's that much level of transmission or population infection levels. That's how it's made. And one of the reasons for that is that they don't have enough data, epidemiological or effectiveness vaccine data on the 2 types, so serotype 3 and 4 of dengue virus. to promote the vaccine use more broadly. So it is recommended for countries where there is very high transmission profiles, so countries like Brazil or America's region, where we know historically they've had very high rates of dengue fever as well. But perhaps that will change in the future. We need good data to inform that, but also monitor the situation more closely across the Pacific as well as Southeast Asia, parts of Asia, which do see large outbreaks of dengue, are experiencing them.